Hi there, day 70. I've got basically a month to go. Today I want to talk about, I sometimes talk about big picture learning and bits and pieces learning. Today I want to use a different image, and that is sort of the big basket and the small basket, or even call it calipers or whatever. And what I mean by that is, I mentioned the other day that despite the fact that I've really improved my ability to understand, for example, quite a difficult podcast, and I mentioned that some weeks ago I had an interview with someone from the local Korean newspaper, and I was able to answer questions and talk about the things that we're doing, and felt, wow, am I ever doing well? And then I went to the restaurant where this is a sushi restaurant where they have a Korean. They're all Korean actually, but there's one particular waitress that I speak to, and I spoke to her when I started, and then I started trying to make small talk again, and I felt I didn't do any better than I did 2 months ago. Partly because there's so much noise I can't hear what she's saying, partly because I can't anticipate what she's going to say, and so I struggle. And so then someone said in a comment to that video, that's interesting. I had always assumed that you needed to first learn the small chit chat, small talk, before you could progress to more, call it more intelligent conversation or the ability to understand more difficult texts. Well, that kind of got me thinking. For example, when I studied Czech, I didn't well, with Russian, I must have listened for a year and a half before I started speaking. With Czech, I think it was at least 6 months, listening to fairly difficult stuff. And then, of course, when I started to speak, I struggled and stumbled, but eventually it came along. So I sort of realized that my method of learning, it really is that I don't worry too much about the small talk chit chat. It doesn't matter that much to me. I have no real pressing need to engage in small talk chit chat. But I am motivated by these interesting content items. And so I kind of liken it to, I scoop up a lot of stuff, and I keep on scooping up a lot of stuff in this huge basket. And it's all swimming around in there, maybe interacting, maybe it's fish and they're kind of interacting in some way. And I scoop up more and more, all in this big basket. And eventually, more and more of that stays. Whereas if I go and grab stuff with a little basket and throw it onto the shore, I find I tend to lose a lot of it. It could be reviewing, endings of verbs, reviewing certain patterns of speech. I mean, you have to do some of it. You have to do some of it all along. You have to do some of it at the very beginning, and you have to do it sort of regularly throughout. But I find all of those kinds of reviews of structure and of grammatical rules and case endings stays with you for a very short time. It's like you picked it up in a small fish net and you put it on the shore and you looked at it, and pretty soon it kind of all went away. A little bit remains, but mostly it kind of goes away. Whereas the stuff that we pick up in this big basket, and that's what I do when I'm listening to difficult stuff and reading difficult stuff and accumulating all these words. Very few of them do I have time to review in flashcards. Most of the time I'm just meeting them again, highlighted in yellow at link in the next lesson and stuff. And it's always there. And eventually it starts to settle. And again, you go back to the rules and that. But eventually, as it settles, you've got more and more of sort of a background of experience against which you can then apply these little rules that you're constantly learning and forgetting, learning and forgetting, learning and forgetting. And so I guess what I'm saying is you need a combination of the big basket, the big fishing net, and the small fish net. And you don't necessarily, like I've personally found that I just cannot nail down stuff at the beginning. So knowing that I can't nail it down, I'm not disappointed when I can't remember certain obvious words or obvious structures. I know that in time they will start to solidify. So thinking of that person's comment, can't remember who it was, that we progressed from small sort of chit chat social conversation to more complicated conversation. In fact, I mean, it also depends on your opportunity. If I were surrounded by native speakers, I would be developing that ability much more quickly. I'm not surrounded by native speakers, so I rely more on this other strategy. I'm not saying it's bad to rely on, to spend more time on the chit chat, but my eventual goal, as I always say, is to have intelligent conversations on a wide variety of subjects, to be able to read the newspaper, read books, listen to an interesting podcast such as the one I'm using right now, and to understand it and enjoy it. That's what I want to get to. Anyway, so there you have it. That's the big fish net and the small fish net approach to language learning. I will finish up with a few housekeeping items. People are saying my microphone is not loud enough. I think that really only applies to when we use my iPhone to video things in the office. And if anyone has any suggestions on how to capture the sound better using the iPhone, as a video, making device, please let me know. I think the sound with my Blue Snowflake here when I do this in front of the computer is good enough. Please let me know. Another thing, I'm walking the dog again today. It was raining. It rained a lot last night. I'm going to finish off, by the way, with a few shots from the forest showing the falls. But today, because of the rain, the stream was a torrent. The falls were just roaring. And there's an area where normally Gordy likes to go in and splash around. And he took one look at the torrent, and I was afraid that he was going to jump in the water. And he might have been gone down the falls. And he took one look at it and didn't miss a beat, didn't even bother going down there. Whereas normally he just zooms down there. So he's smarter than he looks. Okay, that's it. Bye for now.
Here we have the falls again. And where's my friend Gordy? Gordy, don't be shy. Gordy, say hello. Yeah, good boy. And we'll walk up here now and continue on our way.